Show.
Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive. Let's bring him in, the crispy one, Mike Crispino. He is the voice of UConn men's basketball, football, baseball, you name it. He's the voice of it. Mike Crispino joins us now. How are you, Crispy? How was the game last night?
Mike?
It was good, guys. It was a good crowd, and UConn made it 3-0 on the season. You know, it had its ragged moments, but I think you got to expect that in some of these games. It's not going to be perfect. And certainly Dan Hurley has some stuff to work on when he goes back to practice today.
One thing I was not expecting was Stephon Castle to be in street clothes and not play. What can you tell us about Stephon and the injury that he's dealing with?
Well, Coach told me before the game, we do our little pregame taping, that he has a knee issue. Nothing serious, I don't think, but he was in some pain the day after the game on Saturday. So they decided to sit him down. They're going to send him for an exam today. I don't know if it's an MRI or an X-ray, but they'll get a little further information. I hope it's just going to be rest a little bit of here for a few days, and he can play on the weekend. Sunday's the next game against Indiana at Madison Square Garden, but we'll have to wait and see what the results are. He looked to be comfortable walking around. He was in his street clothes out near the locker room area. He sat on the bench. When he got up off the bench and walked around, he seemed sort of normal, but, you know, that's very amateur analysis by me. I'm hoping for the best. That's all I can say.
All right, we made 11 threes. Cam Spencer made 7, was on fire in the first half. I mean, that's exactly how you want those guards to be shooting the basketball.
Yes, I agree. They had only been shooting a little over 30% in the opening 2 games, and Cam himself had been, I think, 4 for 13. He looked much more comfortable and determined and getting in a groove in this game. 7 of 11. I think every one of the shots he took were, you know, on time when he should have taken them. Maybe one was a little bit of a force, but nothing more than that. And to make 7 for him, that was a career high. I think his career high in points is 30, so he scored 25, and they needed his offense, to be honest. The bench did up a little bit. That's how you get the 87, and that's what they did. And they got the 87, and they played great defense again, holding the opposition at 32%. Only 1 3 made by the Delta Devils. Let's remember, Mississippi Valley State comes from the SWAC. If you look at the preseason prognostications, they're ranked the 32nd best conference in the country, which is last. So their competition, their conference, not great. So UConn took advantage of that to win big.
I was expecting Donovan in the first 3 games, Northern Arizona included, Stonehill on Saturday, and then last night, just to be a dominant force down there, because I think the tallest guys that he has faced has been 6'8" so far. But it feels like those 6'8" pesky guys around the rim are just frustrating the heck out of Donovan right now. And then Dibbs brought up at the beginning of the show, maybe he's not 100% because he was dealing with that injury. I know it's small sample size. We did have a lot of last year, but he was only averaging 15 minutes. Now, him as the starter, how do you analyze his game in the first 3?
Well, I think last night he played almost 23 minutes, went 7 of 8, got to the line 9 times, more than anybody. Did not make enough, though. He only made 3.
Yeah.
It looked to me like this Mississippi Valley team might have the formula for guarding him, which is doubling, sometimes tripling him to force him into, you know, a mistake, a turnover, a missed shot, rushing a play, stuff like that. So I think that's what he's got to think about. I don't think Indiana will double team him. I don't think Texas will, but I think a lot of these mid-major type teams, that's what they're thinking. Force the big guy to get rid of the ball. Don't get too many easy buckets. It worked against Mississippi Valley State to an extent because they were kicking it around UConn to get all those threes. Right. And again, they made 11 threes last night. So, and they played zone. The Delta Devils played zone the whole time. UConn, I thought that was a great thing about the game. UConn having to face zone because they're going to get that. People are going to load up on the interior of their offense and kind of force them to prove they can make long-range shots, and they did that last night. So, you know, all these games early on are meaningful in that you're going to see different strategies, and you got to react to them. And I thought UConn, for the most part, reacted well. They were sloppy. They turned it over. They didn't defend great in terms of some of the plays they made. But, I mean, the percentages say they were good defensively. And we'll talk to Dan Hurley later tonight for the coaches show. I'm sure he'll give me an earful on what he didn't like in that game.
Oh, yeah, and these are just little things. We're talking to Mike Crispino, play-by-play of UConn men's basketball. I've been watching it over 40 years of the big men of UConn, and it's still a pet peeve of mine when they put the ball on the ground. Samson Johnson did it a couple times. They take it right away. Klingon did it. They get right in on him. So it's more of, and it took a couple years for Sanogo to stop dribbling. I mean, it's just something that big men stop dribbling, put it above these guys. They're going to hack you. They're going to foul you, put you at the foul line. So the less Klingon dribbles, I think, the more effective this big guy is going to be.
Yeah, and that goes for everybody, too. I mean, the rookies, Jaden Ross, Jalen Stewart made a couple mistakes trying to dribble into traffic and turned it over. It's an experience thing with the younger guys. And even for Donovan, he played 15 minutes a game last year. Right. You come in as the backup. A lot of times you're playing against the second team of the other squad, so you can take advantage of it. Now he's playing against the best. He's playing Group A, right? He's playing against Kalkbrenner and all those guys every time. So he's got to be better with the basketball. And I agree, Samson Johnson didn't have a great night, and we'll be talking to him tonight on the coach's show as well. And I think you're right about that, Rob. When he brings the ball down off a rebound, that's trouble because teams are going to collapse. They're going to try to force turnovers.
And that's what guards and small forwards' jobs are, is to take the ball from you when you put it down below your waist.
Absolutely, and it's not as easily said as done because there's so much traffic.
Yeah, but they're used to their entire careers where they were pretty much responsible probably for 30, 35 points a game in high school, and now it's a little bit different in college.
Yeah, no question. So listen,
still amazing. That's not the point, right?
It's another learning experience for these guys.
The one thing I asked all year round, and I was proven wrong because we won a national championship based upon the rest of Donovan Klingon and those 15-minute spurts that he'd come in and spell Sanogo. But all year long I was asking, there's not a world where Sanogo and Klingon can coexist on the same court at the same time. And I know, again, I shouldn't be asking this because Hurley knows a lot better than me, and they won a national championship doing it. But there's not a world where Samson Johnson and Donovan Klingon can be on the court at the same time?
I think that's going to happen. Dan has alluded to it a couple times that he feels like they can because Samson can go to the 4 and be effective over there. He's more of a 5, but I think Klingon and him can work together, and they would really produce a definite defensive advantage for UConn with their size and shot-making ability. And, Donovan being a really good passer, so you get the ball into him, kick it back outside. Samson is a great rim roller. He can roll to the basket and throw it down. He's got some skills offensively, super quick. So, yes, I think we're going to see that. I don't know when. Maybe Kansas is going to load up with big men, and UConn will have to counter with 2 bigs at the same time like that. I mean, these 5 games that they play coming up versus Indiana, Texas probably, Gonzaga, Kansas, they're going to be tough customers, and they're going to bring some size and some power to the game, and UConn's going to have to counter that. So I can't wait to see what they do in North Carolina too. Don't forget them; they've got some veteran forwards that'll get after you on the boards. I think that these are major challenge games coming up for UConn.
Talking to Mike Crispino. Let's talk some NBA real quick. I don't know if you got the highlights of last night's Timberwolves and the Warriors and stuff, but the announcer called it a fracas. So when you see something like that going on, what comes to mind in your mouth? When both teams leave the benches and it's just crazy. What's the first word out of your mouth?
Uh-oh. Look out.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's a good one.
Man. You remember way back, Rudy Tomjanovich caught a sucker punch. And he never really recovered.
Tree Rollins.
I hate that highlight.
Tree Rollins did it.
Yeah. I mean, Bird got into some real scraps with people, with Rambis and McHale. When you got guys 6'9" like that, 6'10", you've been around them.
They're big humans, man.
Yeah.
They got big fists.
Oh, I know. And what Draymond Green, I love him as a player, but I don't like him as a person, to be honest. He's just a dog, you know. He chokes Gobert, and he could have really hurt him. I could have been dangerous what he was doing, and they both got ejected and all. Listen, we don't see much of that in NBA games anymore. Going back in the '80s, when the heyday of the Celtics and the Lakers and all
Pistons
those teams,
and all those bad boys, right? Man, they started that all the time.
Bird, yeah, Bird and Dr. J in a preseason game. I was there. I couldn't believe it. Those two went at it like it was, they were playing for a championship that night.
You were there? Where were you? Tell me where your point of advantage, like where you were sitting, like when you saw. I need to know more about this. If kids don't know, first of all, if kids don't know who Dr. J or Larry Bird on, shame on you. Go to YouTube and just put in Dr. J fights Larry Bird.
Look it up.
Now tell me your advantage and all about this night for you.
We were lucky in the old Garden. The press and the media who covered the team got to sit along the baseline. I mean, right on the baseline. That were great seats. And we were right next to the Celtic bench, too. So, anyway, you saw everything. And but it didn't. It kind of exploded out of nowhere. You're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, preseason game, what the hell? But that's how hard those guys played. I mean, they played like life and death, preseason or not. I'm not saying every preseason game was going to be blood and guts, but there were some real battles when these teams got together, and the Sixers obviously were still pretty darn good, and Dr. J was a great player, and Bird was in the middle of his career there. But when they went at it, they were not messing around. It wasn't just for looks, trust me. Guys were throwing haymakers. They let it loose. And it was scary looking. I'll tell you what, it really was scary looking. Now, credit the officials last night, guys. I thought they did a pretty good job of corralling some of those players out there.
I think about that, too. Like they're half their size.
You can catch an elbow, so you're just elbow height. Like where you're
right where your eye socket is.
And you don't know when guys get, you've been in the middle, I'm sure, Rob.
I've been in a lot of fights, man. You don't know who the cheap shot guys are until you get one in the back of the head.
That's true. You don't know when someone's going to just have a short fuse and let one go. So you're in the middle, like maybe you're pushing, you're shoving, you're trying to hug one of your teammates to get them away, whatever. You just don't know which guy is going to, have a short fuse and just explode and throw something. So I'm telling you, that's scary when you see athletes of that level. I know hockey guys get in fights, et cetera, but they're on skates. It's way different, I think. You get guys 6'9", weighing almost 300 pounds, throwing punches and wrestling with each other. Anything could happen. So fortunately, no one got hurt.
Bringing this back to the Husky roster, who on that team would you want to have your back in a roadhouse brawl?
Oh, boy. Well, Klingon for sure, I think.
Yeah, he's intimidating just to look at. Really? Caravan and Klingon.
Sneaky. You ever see Caravan on the bench?
Sneaky.
Caravan, he's got attitude for days.
Is he a psycho?
Caravan. He looks like it.
Yeah.
You can see. You see it in his eyes. I can see it in his eyes.
Psycho eyes?
Yeah, he's got crazy eyes.
Well, he grew the beard, right? He grew the beard in his freshman year. Now he looks grittier, and he does have that look in his eye like,
dude, he's
it's all about we're winning this game somehow. Right. So get out of my way,
I love it. I love it. You are the man, Crispy. Thank you so much, my brother. And I know you got other work to do, so we really appreciate you jumping on with us today.
You got it, guys. Anytime.
All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Do First Dibs question of the day next.